Welcome to ADHD Power Tools, where we give you the tools to unlock the power within. Hello, everybody. Welcome to ADHD Power Tools. Today, I'm very excited to welcome Julia Futo. She is an intern at Different Brains, just like me, and we were excited to talk about ADHD and the power tools that come with ADHD. Go ahead, introduce yourself properly, Julia.
So hello, I'm Julia. I'm 21, and as Ollie mentioned, I'm also an intern at Different Brains. Throughout my life, I've been diagnosed with several different neurodiversities, including ADHD recently, and that is how I was connected with Ollie. I think my biggest passions and interests are journalism, advocating, and helping people find themselves.
Awesome. And when did you find out you were diagnosed with ADHD, and how did you find out you were diagnosed with ADHD?
So, I want to say in September or October, I needed to take an IQ test for Social Security. And one of the things that popped up was ADHD, but I don't know if I want to say unusual as how it was, because the main thing that was noted was an attention deficit, because I have my processing speed falls within the 8th percentile, which naturally, it takes me time to process everything going around me, including what people say, if they change subject. And also I have my primitive reflexes haven't been integrated, meaning that I frequently feel as though I'm on edge, and that kind of because I'm like that, it's sometimes hard I have to process what's going around me, and interferes with my ability to concentrate sometimes. But actually, interesting enough, my mom, I want to say a few weeks ago, dug through a whole bunch of files that had diagnoses and such. And the first time I got diagnosed was actually, I think, when I was 5 or 8, but it popped up out of nowhere. I was diagnosed by a neurologist who, the first time I was diagnosed, said I only had my main neurodiversities, which is encephalopathy and developmental coordination disorder. And then 3 years later, when I was 8, put ADHD in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. ADHD doesn't really always I'm not going to say always, but every neurodiversity like ADHD comes with something else, whether it's anxiety, this, that, and speaking of diagnosis and ADHD, I want to ask our expert over here, Brooke Schnittman, ADHD and executive function coach. Is ADHD misdiagnosed, overdiagnosed, or underdiagnosed? What do you think about the diagnosing of ADHD?
Sure. So I definitely will address that, but I kind of want to go back to something you had mentioned about the comorbidities in diagnoses. And it is very common that ADHD is comorbid with anxiety, depression, OCD, ODD, and others learning disabilities. It's not always that it comes with something. So 50% of the people who have ADHD also might have a learning disability. But with the underdiagnosis, overdiagnosis, diagnosis, what I would say is it's all of the above. As we learn more and more about ADHD, and the stigma is less and less, I would say that more people understand it and are looking for it and might be diagnosing. And some people still don't understand yet that they have ADHD and might not be knowing where the right support is in order to seek out that diagnosis, or even know that that even exists. So I would say it's overdiagnosed, underdiagnosed, and diagnosed. That's my final answer.
All of the above. There you go.
All of the above. I would also say that in females, Julia, it's very often underdiagnosed, especially in later in life. Females have been diagnosed. So me personally, I was diagnosed a year and a half ago because I'm in the profession, and I realized that I was sharing a lot of the same symptoms. A lot of my female clients who come to me are diagnosed later in life, and their previous diagnoses are typically anxiety, depression, OCD.
I was curious because with my condition of developmental coordination disorder, it can exist by itself, but it also, some of the symptoms do overlap. Some of ADHD and even autism, which I've had a autism diagnosis before too. But the interesting thing is, I read somewhere that 50% of people who have developmental coordination disorder can also have ADHD, but they can, like I said, they can coexist or they can be separate.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting world.
Yeah. And to your point, it could coexist or be separate. And a lot of things can be diagnosed before ADHD. A lot of things can be diagnosed after ADHD. And sometimes people don't understand if it's the ADHD that can cause anxiety, for instance, or if it's anxiety that is trickling into appear like ADHD, or even autism and ADHD share a lot of the same symptoms as well. So you have to be really clear, study the data for 6 months or more, and it has to be showing up in 2 or more places where it's really affecting you. So it's not cut and dry. Just put it that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to take it back to the females versus males aspect. You know, a really good example is I was diagnosed ADHD at 7 years old, because mainly, honestly, because of my hyperactivity and impulsivity. Obviously, my inattention as well, but my hyperactivity and impulsivity. My younger sister, she's 10 years old, and she just got diagnosed last month. So it's 3 years after I got diagnosed, and it wasn't really noticeable. Like for example, me, you know, I think it was a stat where males are more on the hyperactive and impulsive side, where females are more of the inattentive side. Specific numbers, I don't remember. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a good example right there.
Yeah. So they used to look at it as ADHD as a childhood disorder. And it was mostly boys who were diagnosed because they exhibited a lot of the hyperactive symptoms. And for females, like you said, it's more the inattentive or combined type where you share some of the symptoms from hyperactive and the inattentive.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And seeing her now, diagnosed ADHD, I'm glad. Obviously, she has me around to help her out and give her the tools and everything. And one day she'll watch ADHD Power Tools, so that's good stuff.
Yeah, and I love how you said that, having an advocate in your corner, being educated, and knowing how to use ADHD to live your life, knowing your strengths, your weaknesses, how it shows up for you, because it doesn't show up the same way for everyone, right? I mean, all 3 of us have ADHD, but we physically look different. We act different in many occasions. So you can't say this is what ADHD looks like. So you really have to learn who you are, but also get the help of someone who understands it as well, who can coach you through it or teach you how to use it in your life.
Exactly.